Welcome. This is the forum for candidates for Snohomish City Council positions 4, 5, 6, and 7. I am Nadine Shanti, a member of the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County. Let me provide some background on these positions. The City Council is the legislative body of city government that establishes city policy and provides a framework for city administration to respond to community needs. Council members manage basic public services like sewer, water, fire, police, roads, parks, etc. They establish and enforce local laws affecting individuals and businesses, including local taxes. They control how land can be used, and they provide direction to the mayor. Candidates do not declare a political party preference. In alphabetical order by district, the candidates are: in District 4, Randall Mars and Tom Merrill; in District 5, David Flynn and Fred Gaitan. I did it anyway. District 5, Gabe Jacobs and Bill Webster; and District 7, Dr. Anoop Deol and Karen Guzak. I got it? All right. The League does not endorse or oppose candidates or parties. All candidates here have agreed to follow the rules for forum participation. Because this is a large body of candidates, everyone will be allowed 60 seconds, 1 minute, to answer each question, so listen up. Our timer will flash how much time is remaining for each question at 30 seconds, and then 15 seconds, and when time reaches 0, I will direct the candidates to stop. I will say thank you. Chosen randomly in pairs for each district, the order for responses to the first question will be as you see them on stage: David Flynn, Fred Gaitan, Karen Guzak, Anoop Deol, Bill Webster, Gabe Jacobs, Tom Merrill, and Randall Mars. And then I will alternate the candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. We're starting with Mr. Flynn with our first question. And your mic is on, yes? Okay.
It is.
Mr. Flynn, what qualifications, training, and experience make you a good choice to serve on the Snohomish City Council?
Being with our limited time tonight, I'm going to read my answers in order to stay succinct and on point and to be clear about my responses. I've proudly called Snohomish home for 29 years. This city isn't just where I live, it's where I've built a life, raised my family, and committed myself to community. I bring the experience of serving on City Council for the past 4 years, and during that time, I have earned my certificate in municipal leadership through the Association of Washington Cities, giving me hands-on education in city government. I also bring a unique perspective by having my certificate in quality control and assurance through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. My day job brings 35 years of municipality contracting, working closely with federal, state, and city governments. I understand how to navigate complex systems and get real results. I'm not just about ideas. I bring hands-on experience and practical wisdom to the table. Snohomish deserves leadership and knows how to get it done, and I'm here to keep doing that work.
Thank you. Mr. Gaitan, same question.
I start?
Same question.
Okay, I bring over 35 years of retail experience, running from the store management level to senior management level. In this position, I had to required me to lead large teams, balance budgets, P&L responsibility, and navigate construction, permitting, labor issues, and HR issues. After retiring, I shifted my focus to community service at United Way of Snohomish County, where I helped lead successful large campaigns. In short, I know how to balance vision with fiscal responsibility and how to get things done with collaboration and trust while being accountable. These experiences, managing complex operation, investing in community well-being, and that's exactly what is needed to keep Snohomish safe, clean, and vibrant, and true to itself, and support the small businesses and residents of our city.
Thank you. Ms. Guzak,
Yes.
same
Ready?
question.
Okay. So my qualifications, I moved here in 1993 with my husband, Warner Blake, and we renovated this old St. Michael's Catholic Church. And then I immediately got involved in city service. I volunteered for the Design Review Board, Historic Design Review Board. I was also on the Strategic Planning Committee with the community. And at that time, that was in 2007, we talked about the need for a new civic campus. Then I've been on City Council now from 2007 to 2019. And again from 2011 to now. And I was the mayor from 2010 to 2017. So I know city government. At the same time, I'm also a small business owner here in Snohomish. I own 2 little businesses. And I have really given all of my service and my love to this city. I just think this is the greatest city. And so I'm here to help again. I've got the fire in the belly to do this some more.
Thank you. Ms. Dale, the same question.
I bring strong mix of medical, business, and civic experience to the table. As a doctor, I have scientific training and critical thinking skills. I have run my own clinic for over 25 years, and I see a lot of patients on one-on-one, and generation of patients one-on-one, and I have unique insight on what their needs and wants are for this town. Running up my own clinic, I had to learn how to do operation, financial, administrative experience, and along with understanding budgets, regulation, and making sure that I could stay viable as a female business owner. My prior experience on the Washington State Optometry Board, which I served 2 terms, allows me to work through regulations and be held publicly accountable for our laws and regulations. So I hope I can serve you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, you're going to slow me down a lot if you do that. Please hold your applause for the end. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Webster, same question?
Yes, so I'm a business owner that affords me to set and balance my budgets. I also served as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I currently serve on the executive board. We have a budget that we have to maintain and figure out our services and growth. I run Klahia Days. We also put on a bunch of public events. I volunteer in just about everything around town. So as a resident, as someone puts on public events, as someone that is involved in the city, and I was a civic ambassador. I also serve on the public safety board. So I'm looking at all sides of any given issue. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, thank you. Remember when you had 15 seconds. Thank you. Mr. Jacob.
With an S.
Jacobs.
Hi, I'm Gabe Jacobs. I have worked in software engineering for the past 25 years, spanning medical, automotive, embedded, operating systems. Professionally, the largest team I've led was 25. I have been volunteering with youth in this city for 17 years. I lived here until I was 10, moved a whole city over, and then I came back 24 years ago to start a family with my wife. And I believe that what really qualifies me for leadership in this town is that I spent a lot of time here. I love this city. I love the people that are here. And I believe I have a better vision for Snohomish. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill?
Yes, I've served 8 years on the City Council, and I applied myself to learning all the ins and outs of municipal management. Before that, I worked for one of the most financially conservative companies, manufacturing companies in the U.S., where in the last 15 years of that, I was tasked with leading a global team that looked for business solutions, had to understand the business and the technologies that were coming out and applying them together to reach a financial outcome. I now currently have been elected to serve on the Community Transit Board of Directors as one of the 2 small town representatives on community transit, where I am as chair of the strategic planning committee, where my team reviews all of the projects before coming in. I want to tell you, I have no personal agendas, but I am deeply steeped in managing large budgets and smart money. What I mean by smart money is saving money and applying it to the right solutions.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, same question.
I am we the people. I am you. I am not a politician. I'm just a regular citizen who has become concerned. I kind of woke up, actually, and I would say that I trusted politicians. I trusted our school boards before. But knowing what I know now over the last few years, I know that it takes our involvement. That's why I'm here. I'm a problem solver, and I work well under pressure. 28 years of law enforcement has shown me that people are bad sometimes, but you can bring out the best in them by just stringing the right words together. Before that, I was a firefighter and a U.S. Army combat veteran from Iraq. I know what pressure's like. I know how to get along with people. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm about saving money. I'm the guy that asks, who pays for that? Where does that money come from? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaitan, we're going to start with you for the second question. Yes. As Snohomish works to comply with Growth Management Act requirements, what are your ideas for addressing infrastructure needs, including downtown parking and adequate and repaired roads and sidewalks?
Thank you. The current growth management plan in the books in the city of Snohomish envisions us as being a much smaller town than we need to be and than what the inhabitants of our town want to be. Our community values its historic background, small town charm, and we will comply with the GMI while still protecting that character. We must focus on measured and fiscally responsible improvements on infrastructure, utilities, public safety, sidewalks, trails, and lighting that support the needs of our community and not the wants of government leaders. Parking solutions for First Street need to have an increase in parking and in every case a decrease in parking to protect our businesses. So yes, we meet the state requirements, but we do it in a way that safeguards the heart of Snohomish and protects our businesses and keeps our businesses in business.
Thank you. Ms. Guzak, same question.
Yes, same question. So the Growth Management Act, we just finished our comprehensive plan here at the City of Snohomish. It took quite a long time, but we have a great staff who helped us with it and a great council right now, and I might add a great mayor. We have, over the years, to help us pay for pavement overlays past the Transportation Benefit District, and while I was in council, I was very proud that we did that. That gets us sales tax money to repair our roads. It built the roundabout that's up by Hagen. We're planning for other street improvements, and we hope then in the future that to add sidewalks to that as well. Relative to the First Street Master Plan and parking down there, I think we really do need parking there and to increase parking. I'm looking forward to the Citizens Committee report to council that we should be getting later this year to see what their recommendations are. Also, let's see, I had another note here, but it's gone away from me right now. So I do think that we need to, I know, small city. So Fred, I think we're all always going to be a small city.
Thank you. Dr. Dale, Ms. Dale.
I think that our city parking, sidewalks, and roads need repair, and it must be done in a practical, affordable, and compliant with the GMA Act. That means taking care of what we already have first, maintaining and repairing our existing streets and walkways. And we can upgrade with the growth and the GMA Act by requiring new development and infrastructure to go hand in hand so that we can maintain our infrastructure and stay compliant with the GMA, and then also actively seeking grants and funding from state and federal level and partnershiping with our businesses to improve sidewalks without having the entire cost be thrown up on the taxpayers. The goal is well-maintained infrastructure that supports residents and small businesses that still makes Snohomish livable.
Thank you. Mr. Webster.
Yeah, that's part of the growth management. Part of the growth management plan has a lot of that built in, which I learned about and working on the comprehensive plan. Prioritizing what needs fixing. Obviously, it's easier to maintain something than it is to fix something that's broke, and so prioritizing that fits in within our budget. And I think the city's doing a really good job with that. These upgrades that are upcoming. And coordinating all of the utilities and services. I know that there's been discussion about an incentive to new construction, that they have to provide a green space when they build new neighborhoods, and so maybe there's a partnership with maintaining the sidewalks, putting the sidewalks in to offset that cost and create an incentive instead of having just like a green space.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs, same question.
So the First Street Advisory Plan the First Street Advisory Committee has actually done a pretty good job of finding new parking spaces on First Street, and I think that we should implement what we can afford.
You need to put that right up to your mouth.
There you go. All right, so the First Street Advisory Committee has done a pretty good job of coming up with new parking spaces, and I think we should implement what we can afford. Years of deferred maintenance in favor of bigger projects have left our roads in sort of a poor state. Same thing with sidewalks. I'd love to see an opt-in sidewalk repair program instead of just painting the corners red. I'd also like to see an opt-in speed bump program for neighborhoods that are having problems speeding. Raise your hand if you are. Just about everybody, right? But the big thing is we need to have Snohomish-sized solutions for these problems. If we can't fund it, we can't build it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill, same question.
A lot of what we've been talking about is stuff that already exists and upgrades on that. I want to talk a little bit about the growth that we need to do to adhere to the Growth Management Act. And meeting infrastructure in anticipation of growing there is a difficult dance. However, what we need to do is make sure that we maximize the developer contribution to do that, get that money as soon as we can, and apply it to the new roads, the sewer systems, and the sidewalks that are needed in that new area. We've done some of that. We just got done putting in a new north sewer pipeline in anticipation of working into the northern UGA so that the people there can sell their properties and can build homes on it. We also have reached an agreement with a developer that's in the future is going to build along Ludwig Road, that he's going to put the sidewalks in now in conjunction with the city of Snohomish, so that begins connecting that new housing development with the new park up there called Homestead Park that we plan on building. So anticipate, plan, and do the dance between repair, maintenance, and arrival of funds.
Thank you. Mr. Mars.
Thank you. The Growth Management Act is important. We've been dealing with it like all other cities in Washington since 1994. It has modified with the times, and it will modify again. The Growth Management Act is not unsurmountable, but it is important to allow humanity's footprint to expand, and it is, but while still protecting critical locations. Natural spaces. But number one, saving taxpayers' dollars. This is your money. Okay, so the fact that some people on the council aren't supposed to be concerned about how much projects cost is wrong. It's a wrong answer. It's your money. It's our money, right? So ask questions about it. Know that the downtown First Street repair can be done a lot less expensive than it's planned to. So ask about that. Get involved in your community. And the last thing is, historic charm is important to me. I don't want to ruin that. I don't want to wreck it or compromise that in the name of a project or.
Thank you. And Mr. Flynn, we'll finish this question with you.
Regarding the Growth Management Act, I know we'll follow what the law requires us to do because we have no way around that. In regards to infrastructure, we really need to be approaching it with diligence, planning, and most of all, ongoing evaluation. If we assess, budget, and maintain the infrastructure, we're not only thinking about what we need today, but what we need in the future. This is why I support practical improvements, good planning, and infrastructure improvements that aren't only for today but are also sustainable for the future. For downtown, I'm very thankful we have a committee involved working on the plans and the ideas, which there's been nothing set in regards to what's happening specifically downtown as of yet. But for now, I say no to parallel parking. I don't believe it's a good idea to eliminate any of our existing parking spots. I say yes to enhancing the east side of First Street where there's an abundance of parking. We just need to make this a much more inviting place. We can also make our lettered streets one-way, which would increase actual parking availability and improve traffic flow. I'm also advocating for a sidewalk program, one that not only maintains and fixes what we have, but adds to the safety and connectivity of our pedestrians.
Thank you. Guzak, we're going to start our third question with you. What measures, if any, would you propose or support to keep housing options affordable in Snohomish?
Well, our council has made affordable housing a prime issue for us. And what we have done is change some of the zoning in certain places. For example, the Pilchuck District and Midtown, which is up by Hagen and that big 9-acre lot that used to be the county maintenance yard. So what we've given is zoning bonuses to people who will build affordable units. We also need to work closely with the affordable housing providers, Housing Hope, Snohomish Affordable Housing Group, and work with them to provide the housing that we need. Also, if we do the civic campus, we will be freeing up the old police station, and that would be a wonderful place to build some affordable housing in the city of Snohomish at 3rd and Maple.
Mr. Yule?
Well, I think it's important to keep housing affordable, and we need to have a balanced approach. And that includes mixed use of housing options from cottages, townhouses, apartments, so families from different income levels can afford homes here and afford to live in our town. And we can make it easier for residents to build accessory dwellings like in-law suites or backyard cottages, so without disrupting the character of the neighborhoods. I think it's important. We did this at one point where Laura Huntington led the entire nonprofit organization that helped build the senior center and the other senior housing. And it's really sad when I hear that patients come in, they've lost a spouse, and now they're also grieving with that, but they're losing their home because they can't afford to stay there because they can't afford the taxes. So it's really hard when I see that. It's a very soft spot for me.
Mr. Webster?
So with the growth management plan over the course of the next 10 years, we have to make room for 10,000 new residents. And I think that, like the housing, I talked with Chris Collier with the Housing Authority. They're always coming up with new and effective ways to provide flex housing and different opportunities. I think I don't have anything new to add. Like ADUs, mixed housing, depending on the footprint of the neighborhood, affordable housing by partnering with Housing Hope, which is a great organization, is counting on these experts to help us figure out how to implement and fund these well is the way forward.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob, same question.
So as I've been knocking on doors, I keep running into retirees who are telling me that they can't afford to live in their homes. I spoke to an 80-year-old woman who lived here, served here all of her life, and was taxed and feed out of her paid-off house. When I tell people that story, people often ask me, "Are you talking about my mom?" Too often I'm asked that. We have very high fees and taxes in this town, and it's impossible to have planned for this level of inflation. We need to make sure that we aren't budgeting projects that retirees can't afford. If we can't afford to fund it, then we can't afford to build it. The people are not the city's piggy bank. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill?
Well, I want to be clear about one thing. I have absolutely no desire to solve the county's housing problem nor their affordability problem by overbuilding in the city of Snohomish. But I do want to ensure that we meet the needs of what I'm going to call the Panthers, so that you can be born here, live here, that you can afford to retire here. We worked a lot on that in the comprehensive plan this year on how we're going to do that. And what we've arrived at is the best thing is to keep doing what we're doing, which is Snohomish is a gold standard for how you set up neighborhoods and you weave other housing into it. Duplexes, ADUs, cottage housing. We've done that and we're the best in the county at doing that. Yes, we're going to have some apartment buildings, but we still want to go with the ratio that we've currently had of about 60-40 on single-family housing. Finally, we want to build a partnership with outfits like the Snohomish Affordable Housing Group, which is a hyper-focused, local, self-funding, low-income housing builder here in town that we try to work with. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Merrill. Mr. Mars, same question.
Thank you. I too have been meeting people, door knocking, and spreading the word about our campaign. And I was approached by a developer who said that he had been doing business in Snohomish for decades. And he watched as our processes for permitting and building approval got more and more difficult, more and more expensive, and got bogged down longer and longer and longer. He threw in the towel, sold his property as junk, and said, I'm never going to work in Snohomish again. We need to tighten that up. We need to fix that, develop a good relationship with builders, especially nonprofit builders that'll work with us to build projects that will help our housing needs. And when I say our housing needs, like Dr. Anoop was saying, older people are going to end up getting booted from their houses. But like Mr. Merrill said, our young people aren't going to be able to thrive here. They're not going to be able to come here and raise their kids. My kids want to. My 3 daughters, they want to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, same question, please.
I support zoning that keeps building I support building that gives builders flexibility, allowing a variety of housing types that can meet the needs of growing and diverse population. But flexibility alone isn't enough. That's why I support incentives that encourage builders to include affordable housing in their projects. We need to make it easier and more appealing for developers to be a part of the solution. I believe in working directly with affordable housing organizations like Housing Hope and Snohomish for Affordable Housing to create real, lasting options for people who want to live and thrive in Snohomish. At the heart of all this is thoughtful planning, making sure we preserve the character and charm that makes Snohomish so special while still being responsible stewards for the future. We can grow, we can do it responsibly, and we can do it while keeping Snohomish historic and charming.
Thank you. Mr. Gaitan, same question.
Yes, thank you. Helping low-income Snohomish families, young people, and seniors stay in our community is a 4-pronged approach. First, we need to preserve the 50-50 or so balance of single-family units and multi-units, which has been in the town, characteristic of our town for the last 50 years. Second, we need to protect our existing affordable housing solutions, which are small apartments and manufactured homes in which many of our low-income people live. Third, we should encourage smaller scale multifamilies such as townhomes, duplexes, and ADUs, and make it fit our small town character and not extremely expensive with extra taxes. Fourth, we need to preserve our historic single-family neighborhoods that make Snohomish unique. It's not about chasing big, high-density complexes, but it's about offering a variety of solutions that doesn't squeeze anybody out of the housing market.
Thank you. Ms. Dale, we'll start this 4th question with you, and it is, what role, if any, do you see city leadership playing in balancing diverse community events and traditions so that all residents feel welcome in Snohomish?
Well, city leadership must make it clear that Snohomish welcomes people from all backgrounds, such as I was welcomed into this town 25 years ago. No one group or individual should have a higher representation through the city and city funding. Every resident deserves equal respect and opportunity to participate. Our role is to ensure city events and spaces are open fairly to all, supporting both long-standing traditions and new celebrations that reflect our growing community. By setting fair, transparent policies and treating everyone equally, we can create events that bring people together, creating a Snohomish that makes people feel truly that they belong to our city.
Mr. Webster.
Yeah, so I'm from New York originally. I've lived all over the country, not very inspired by any of the places I lived. In fact, this is the longest place I've ever lived in a single location. Snohomish is a very special place. It speaks to community, neighborly. People are very friendly and helpful. I think that we have that dynamic here. There's a lot of different events with all sorts of diversity. I run several of them and volunteer for the rest of them. So I see all sorts of people coming to town from every walk of life. And the most magical thing I see happen when we're creating that space is that none of this other stuff matters. We're there to celebrate and engage in whatever that might be, and that is in community and being neighborly and being together.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Jacobs?
You know, honestly, I believe the community events should be about bringing us closer together and not dividing us into smaller groups. That doesn't mean that we can't have diverse activities or diverse events, but they seem to be getting a little diverse all the time. A lot of people are upset about the motorcycle show going away. I heard a rumor the other day that the Easter parade was going away. I've got no idea whether that's true. Good, thank you. But here's the thing, is that if the community wants to have more diverse events or more events in general, then the community needs to be more involved. Right now, there's a small group of people putting on most of the events, and they need more people. So you guys are all involved citizens, you're here, so I challenge you, pick an event and try to have some impact on improving it. Join a committee, start a committee, apply for a permit.
Thank you. Okay.
So Snohomish is in the destination city space for business. We had a former mayor that said, Snohomish is the most welcoming city in the entire world. Great aspirational words, and I think we should try to maintain and reach for that. So we maintain a welcoming posture, but we also, the city is there to set the guidelines, to provide safety, demand security, and demand that set guidelines for the event people to clean up after themselves. I advocate for and protect your First Amendment rights for all events, full stop. That means I don't want to privilege one group over another and deny another. So allow the cities in the business of providing safe, security, and a place for joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mars, same question.
Thank you. So I see our role as city government, number one, is to listen to you. I want to tell us what events you want, what events you don't want. I see it as all residents, every resident should feel welcome and safe and feel at home and empowered to redress their leaders and say, we don't want this, we do want this. Regarding the Pride Parade, I heard a number of people say, I was afraid to speak out. They didn't like it, right? But let's open up the dialogue. Like Mr. Jacobs said, you know, let's have voices. Let's feel strong enough about it to approach our own leaders and say, this is what we want. Let's talk about a Christmas parade. Let's talk about a 4th of July or a Veterans Parade. Let's talk about these things because they interest me or they interest you or my children, right? Not have something jammed down your throat.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn. Could you pass the microphone to Mr. Flynn? Mr. Flynn, same question, please.
I believe in the First Amendment as well. I also believe in a diverse, all-inclusive community, a place where everyone is seen, heard, and accepted. That's not just an ideal, it's a responsibility we share as a city. I believe the city should be actively encouraging and supporting groups that promote inclusive events and community gatherings, events like the Easter Parade, Klahaya Days, and the Pride Parade. These celebrations bring people together, honoring both tradition and progress. When we create a space for everyone to feel welcome, to celebrate, to participate, and to belong, we strengthen the very heart of Snohomish. Let's continue building the community where kindness, connection, and shared joy are the center of everything we do.
Thank you. John, same question.
I believe the foundation for diversity, equity, and inclusion is set out by the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees equal protection and opportunity for every citizen regardless of race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. As a city, our responsibility is to make sure that we uphold that standard in everything we do, whether it's events, traditions, city services. All must treat all Snohomish residents fairly and respectfully. At the same time, we need to remain vigilant to ensure that all public events are actually inclusive and they're appropriate for families and residents of all ages so we can all enjoy it. We also must make sure that in lieu of an event, we're not favoring some businesses over others by some implicit biases. Everybody in Seattle, all businesses, all individuals, should feel valued and protected equally.
Thank you. And Ms. Guzak will finish this question with you.
Good, thank you. So I believe that Snohomish is already a welcoming city. The celebrations that we have are numerous. We have the Klahaya Days, thank you, Bill Webster. We have the Easter Parade. We have the Gay Pride Parade, which I absolutely support. We had also a holy celebration of the Hindu community here. And we are open to having other groups who want to express their joy and community here in our city. And I absolutely support that. I support the First Amendment rights, free speech, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's my position here as a council member.
Thank you. We'd like to start our next question with Mr. Webster. What, if anything, would you do to address further increases in the water bills of Snohomish residents?
I think, well, utilities are based on usage. I think it's naive to consider that the cost of that might go down. If you looked at the surrounding cities, Snohomish utility bills are right in the middle. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest. So if they were to adjust in a downward trend, I think that would be counterintuitive to everything else that's happening in the world. However, opportunities to run more efficiently or supplement might lower the costs over time, but we'd still have to invest in them in the first place.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs?
So I would vote no on any new water project that we can't fund. If we can't fund it, we can't build it. The costs of water are high in Snohomish, and I think everybody in this room is probably aware of that. We just had another increase, and really this deserves close scrutiny. We need to get into the minutia and figure out why it's so high and why it's come up as much as it has and why it's planned to increase over the next 3 years. But the big thing here really is that if we're planning for future projects and we have to dip into the citizens to get more money to do it, then we need to make sure that you're getting what you need out of it, and we should be trying to get as many grants as we can to pay for it. And again, we can't treat the people as a piggy bank. Each project needs to fund itself. Thank you.
Mr. Mayoral?
Well, let me be straightforward with you. Water bills are likely to increase in the future. The one we had this year was the first one since 2019. We buy our water from Everett. They increase their prices on an average of 4% a year. We have to pay that. Cost of maintenance and construction on pipelines to replace our 70 to 100-year-old pipes that are corroded and nearing failure. The cost of that went up 30% during that period of time. That's not new projects, that's stuff that we need to do. So promises to repeal or stop maintenance, replacement, and construction means that in order to just fund that means that we add another 10 years to the age of our pipes that are already corroded. So what can we do? Transparency on what our projects are, pursue grants, and we have an excellent city staff that has done that and will continue to do that into the future. If we want to not have one big bill, then we do more incrementally. And finally, I have to say, I wasn't happy about it either. I caught hell over the kitchen table over the increase in our pass. Thank you.
Mr. Mars.
There's no such thing as government money. I go back to taxpayers. This is you folks, fee payers. Our city water is high, and it's getting higher. We are beholden to the city of Everett. I don't like that either. But we can do more to negotiate with them, maintain a good rapport with the city water managers over there, so that to ensure not only do we have the best deal, but when times get tough, Snohomish is prioritized perhaps above other communities so that we keep our water coming. There is technology that we can utilize to repair some of the pipes that they're talking about. Yeah, our stuff's old. Yeah, some of it has gone way past its dates, but we can fix it in place in many cases rather than ripping up the entire street, costing money, taking a bunch of time, and diverting traffic and disrupting lives.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn. Same question.
We are beholden to the city of Everett on who we purchase our water from, so that does put us in a position at times. I will say I have voted no on increased utility taxes in the past, and I will continue to vote no in the future. Our residents are already feeling the impact of rising costs, and adding to that the burden through higher utility taxes is not the answer. Instead, I will push for reasonable alternatives, looking closely as how we can better manage and prioritize our current budget to meet the needs without increasing the financial strain on our community. Smart budget, thoughtful spending, and accountability can go a long way. Raising taxes should never be our first option, and that's what I hope to bring to City Council this next term.
Thank you. Mr. Gaitan?
Water and sewer utilities are certainly gone up quite a bit. I know that by looking at my last bill. And the city does face some major projects to the trunk line and treatment plant upgrades. However, I believe that as a business, we need to focus these on a goal of diminishing these and seeing how efficient we are with it. And in business, I learned that when you set a goal, you reach it. And the goal we need to reach is not to raise utilities, not to have the planned increases. We do that by reviewing all the planned increases and how we can get better solutions and when we need to do them by the timing, reviewing the cost, operational cost, headcount, and accessorial cost of our departments, and see where we could find solutions to reduce those. Then we should focus solely on fixing the most urgent problems and spread other projects' costs so that they don't hit people's wallets in a big way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gaitan? Ms. Guzak. Thank you.
Yes. So our water bills, as some of our other knowledgeable people have said it here, are really in the middle of water bills here in the region. And we do get our water from the city of Everett, which comes from Spada Lake. Earlier, we would get some of our water from our water treatment plant up in the Pilchuck River, which was a very aging plant, and then our water rates were really high. So about half of our water was from the Pilchuck River, half from Everett. And Everett water is considerably cheaper than trying to have our own water from the Pilchuck River. So we demolished that water treatment plant on the Pilchuck, and we were able to take the dam out on the Pilchuck River and re-establish it with the tribes for salmon. And I agree that we want to keep prices as low as possible, but one of the things that we do here as a community is we gather together, we create a civic structure, and we all pay our bills together, and it's less expensive than each one of us out there doing our own thing. So I really think this community is just the most important thing, and each one of us who serve on council is very concerned with rising prices.
Well, we already know water and sewer bills are extremely high. My feeling is that they're very high, considering I pay in 2 different spots. First of all, I think we need to address our current system, maybe fixing leaks, reducing waste, and investing in upgrades that save money over time. We should pursue regional partnerships with other cities and communities around the area. And also, when I was doorbelling, I spoke to an entrepreneurial gentleman who has engineering, and he had proposed something to the city on alternative water treatment ideas that he had that would have only cost, and I don't know these numbers, I did not double check, but only would have cost about 25 million, but then we went ahead and signed another contract that cost 50 million. So I think we need to look at alternative ways of having water treatment and figuring out how there's new technologies, so I really think that we need to address that.
Thank you. Thank you. We'd like to start this next question with you, Mr. Jacobs. Please give us your perspective on the proposed city campus plan. Address the cost of the plan and the benefits to the community, please.
So tech companies made famous the idea of management by walking around, where the leaders would have to walk through the workers in order to get to who they needed to talk to. And there were a lot of unseen interactions between those people. So having the city hall and the police station and the public works building in separate locations has a similar effect, where the city workers have to go through the city and have small interactions with the townsfolk in order to conduct their business. There are benefits to that. Now, this land isn't going anywhere, but I don't believe that we can afford to build on it right now. I've heard some pretty creative solutions on what to do with it in the meantime until we can afford to fund it and can afford to build on it. For instance, one gentleman recommended that we lease it to a drive-in movie theater company or something. I thought that was pretty creative. But I don't think we can afford to build this right now. We spent millions buying the lot, and we don't have any more to spare.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill, same question, please.
So the city campus, I'm on the other side of that. I don't think we can afford to not build it. It saves money on maintenance over 5 or 6 different ancient buildings we have that are paying high prices for HVAC. We have to find a home for this Public Works Administration that is sitting in a condemned building right now. And it bolsters our public safety by getting our heavy equipment out of a floodplain and also out of a zone that is subject to earthquake, where we would have to fish our equipment just when we need it out of the mush of the Snohomish River. It brings all of our first responders together so they communicate daily. And finally, it attracts new business. We hope it will attract new business to the town in that part where it currently needs it. I want to say this about that. This is a good time for us to do it. All of this talk about how broke the city is, the city of Snohomish is thriving. 11 cities and 1 county are currently suffering budget deficits. They're cutting services, they're raising taxes. Hey, we're not doing that. We're not on that list. The only issue is stop.
Mr. Mars.
Some say ancient buildings. I say historic. That goes back to my value in this city is more than just a budget line item. I love this city, and I love it because of the history and the charm. We're a city of 10,300 people. I've heard estimates for this city monstrosity to be between 40-some and 70-some, but then possible cost overruns after that. That's egregious for a town our size. Yes, we need to relocate Public Works, but we've got a number of very inexpensive options to do that. We've got established buildings where everybody works well together, and We've got a lot of different options that we can use that land for, which, by the way, I don't agree with how we obtained that land in some cases. I spoke with some of the family members, and they were talking about lawsuits against the city because of the way that happened. I don't feel good about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn.
When you look at the cost of moving our shop site and in maintaining our aging buildings, the idea of a new city campus isn't as costly as it might seem, especially when compared to the long-term expenses of maintaining what we currently have. But I want to be clear, I do not support increasing taxes or costs to our citizens to fund it. That's why during our last budget cycle, I proposed a $2.4 million reduction in our current budget to help offset the cost of the new campus, without passing that burden on to the community. I believe we can still do better. There's room to trim some of the current cost expectations, and I'll continue pushing for smart, efficient budgeting that prioritizes long-term value without increasing costs to the citizens. Excuse me.
Mr. Gaitan.
According to the latest update from the city, the total construction cost is $55 million. And that does not include other costs as land cost, taxes on debt, and third-party management, which would take it up to $70 million. There's also a comparison at the beginning, which I don't believe is accurate with what the current cost would be. For a town of 10,000, 7,000 per person is unrealistic, and it's not a good and responsible scale expense. Updating the current City Hall to ADA is not impossible. In fact, it's possible. It may be difficult. And in fact, the space allocated for public works in the campus is not adequate. This project should be put immediately on hold, followed by full reassessment of needs, and if necessary, find reasonable options that don't tax our people in this way. They can't afford this burden.
Thank you. Ms. Guzak. Same question.
Yes, thank you. So when I was in 2007 on the Strategic Planning Committee here and looking at our city structures, we decided then that they were inadequate. And so now we are on the cusp of being able to solve this problem and build us a wonderful new campus that can work closely with the fire department. We bought the land. We had cash to buy the land. We've had cash to pay for the architecture fees. We're looking to do shovel-ready plans. We've gotten $1 million from the state, and we're looking at funding this over many years and not increasing taxes for people. And so I'm one of council members and staff members that believe this is the best thing that we can do. Definitely the city shop needs to move within a couple of years. It was going to be $24 million to move the city shop, and you put that into the price of about $45 million estimated for the new city campus, and we can definitely afford this, and we pay for it over 20, 30 years without increasing taxes.
Thank you. Ms. Dale?
Yeah, I'm definitely not in favor of this campus. I think it'll be a huge financial burden on the residents of Snohomish. And the fact that I keep hearing numbers thrown from 45 to 75, all of a sudden we start out at 75 and then they say we could decrease the cost by 10 million. I mean, where are we keeping track of that? Like all of a sudden we're just gonna throw out 10 million and 5 million here and 2 million from the state or 10 million. It just doesn't add up. I feel like that it's going to end up costing us a lot more than what is being presented at this time. And as far as maintaining, I think maintaining our cost-effective way of maintaining our current facilities, renovating efficiency, and maybe phased improvement, and would be a better idea. And I think fiscal responsibility means that we have to sometimes say no to projects that overreach, and we need to focus on the everyday needs of our residents.
Thank you. And Mr. Webster.
The public works, as been said, has to move. There's a county variance, so them being in a floodplain, they have to vacate by 2017. the cost to maintain, to relocate and then maintain existing properties is like around $39 million. So, you know, nobody wants to upgrade. I don't want to upgrade anything. I got to put new plumbing in my house. I don't want to do it, but guess what? I have to. I don't have kids, but it is important that the future of this town is secured. Okay, there's utility workers, including a department head working in a construction trailer, no bathroom, you know, no sink, and the cost going from 70 to 40. You know, after some planning, they removed a story. That's how they save that money. And there's an extensive amount of information. The transparency on this is just go to the city's website. You'll find just countless information and all sorts of formats to review.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. We're going to start with Mr. Merrill. Should the city take action to preserve our current tree canopy and to ensure that new trees are planted for future generations? Please explain.
So the first thing I would say on that is we're the Pacific Northwest. Trees are a part of our heritage, just like the downtown is. It's what makes us Snohomish and not Phoenix. Trees mean many things to many different people out there, but mostly almost everybody is in favor of having trees and not a concrete desert. So I would say, yes, the city should take proactive on planning. They should have supply maintenance and review of trees. We should be very thoughtful about taking down any mature trees, and when we have to, let's replant in some other area, maybe 2 for 1, 3 for 1. Yes, we should do that. We should be giving it the same thought we give to maintaining the historic district because, as I said earlier, it's a part of our heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Moore. Opinion.
In the spirit of the Growth Management Act, protecting critical areas, trees are critical, I believe, to our community, to beautification, and like Mr. Merrill says, they're our history. They're the Northwest. It's everywhere. We're the evergreen state. But I would be, I believe that our city governments should be sticking up for the trees, should be pushing the canopy project and monitoring it closely. But I would like to talk to them about maybe taking some of the pressure off. One of my neighbors had to get rid of a tree, and he stressed about it for weeks, trying to find a permit to cut down his own tree on his land, away from anybody else's fence or property. He was gonna plant trees, he already bought them. That wasn't a problem, he's a responsible citizen, but let's lighten up on our citizens. Government is supposed to protect people, not run their lives.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, same question.
Our city has already taken important steps to preserve our tree canopy, a vital part of what makes Snohomish so special. These trees aren't just for the landscape, they are part of our identity, offering shade, beauty, and environmental value that benefit the entire community. I fully support continued efforts to protect and maintain our tree canopy and to ensure that as we grow, we do so responsibly with nature and beauty in mind. Preserving what makes Snohomish beautiful is not just about appearance, it's about quality of life, environmental stewardship, and honoring the character of our community. I'll continue to support policies and actions that keep our city green, vibrant, and uniquely Snohomish, and at the same time taking into account the costs and the efforts it takes for a homeowner to amend and take care of their trees.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Geit.
Yes, I believe the city should act to preserve our tree canopy and should protect the larger, older trees and yes, replace those when they have to be taken down. But it should not be an unreasonable burden on the citizens, and certainly it cannot be a reason for taxing the citizens. The trees to give us shade, clean air, stormwater benefits, and preserve the character of our town for future generations. We could also plant new trees in spaces which are low on canopy, like street sites and public spaces. But there needs to be a balance between strengthening the canopy and ways that fit the scale of Snohomish while keeping costs fair and manageable for our citizens.
Thank you. Ms. Guzak.
Yes, so I am a co-founder of Green Snohomish, and this is an organization working toward nonprofit status to make this city of Snohomish a greener city. And our city council has been very supportive of the work of Green Snohomish, and we have headed for the first time to Arbor Day. We celebrated the other day, a couple weekends ago. And the city is moving toward becoming a Tree City USA, which means that we are committed to keeping our tree canopy as best we can. Also, as a developer is making plans here for new development here in the city, we require planting of trees, and we require, if they take down trees, to those trees to be replaced 6 to 1. So we are moving in the right direction. We've done an inventory of our existing trees on public property, so we know where the heat islands are, which just happens to be around the city hall, not city hall, but the high school, and that's where we need to be planting more trees. And I think we're all agreed that we should be Tree City USA.
Well, preserving our tree canopy is essential, I think. I think it's essential for most places, and you can see that when they don't do that in big cities. If you go to LA, I mean, the smog and all, it just provides clean air, it helps with the environment. So I really think regular maintenance and like trimming, disease prevention, storm protection will extend the life of existing trees. And then also I think we should partner with nonprofit schools and community groups so we can encourage more planting and stewardship across the city. And preserving the canopy isn't just a rule. I think it's building a culture of care so Snohomish stays green and healthy for future generations.
Mr. Webster, oh, am I okay? Okay. Your opinion, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this goes without saying. I mean, if there's an anti-tree contingency in town, I have yet to come across them. Like, who's like down with trees? The thing about the trees is, yeah, we just had a great event at the Carnegie. Like, I think it was a week or two ago. They're handing out free saplings, and so. I know the trees that have come down, like the ones that had to come down on First Street, they're in planters and they're going to grow. I lived in the Southeast in the early 2000s. We had 3 hurricanes come through in a year. Oak trees have a very narrow root system, so not only were the trees down, but it took out power to hundreds of thousands of people. It was so guess what? Roots affect sidewalks, but we want to make sure that we got smooth sidewalks, nobody's tripping all over the place. So we have to figure out a way to navigate that, make sure that we're planting the right trees in the right places, and have a long-term approach to ensure that we have safe sidewalks and healthy trees.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs.
So I love the tree canopy. And I think we should lighten up on the citizens. I spoke with a retired woman who had a tree get sick and die, and she needs to replace that tree with 3 approved trees. She can't dig that hole. She needs to pay someone to do that. Likewise, I spoke to someone who had a sick tree and said they were considering digging it up in the middle of the night and replacing it before anyone noticed so they wouldn't end up with 3 trees. I also spoke to someone who said they wanted to plant some fruit trees, but they were afraid they'd have to plant an orchard eventually. So when it comes to carrot and stick approaches, I think Snohomish needs more carrot and less stick. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've come to the last question of the evening for these candidates, and we'd like to start with Mr. Mars. Okay. What would be your approach with Snohomish businesses when code violation conflicts occur?
Thank you. So as a police officer and detective for 28 years, I dealt extensively with code compliance and code situations. And we had occasion to involve the city council and the city government. And what I learned was that the city council's job is to enact codes and ordinances. It's not to enforce them necessarily. They have a department for that. We have a department called the Code Enforcement. We have to listen to citizens though. So if there's a glitch in whatever we would enact, then we listen to the complaint coming out of that, or the conflict coming off of that, and we have to assess whether we need to adjust it, change it, or throw the ordinance out altogether if it's not fair. Listening to the constituents is the biggest deal. If we get involved, it smacks of favoritism and potentially corruption.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, your ideas on this.
Having been an entrepreneur and a small business owner most of my life, I believe our primary focus should always be to work with our business owners, not against them. When an issue arises, the first step is communication, identifying the problem, and then finding the most affordable, effective, and safe solution possible. Safety is not negotiable, but that doesn't mean the process has to be adversarial. Businesses are vital to our health of our community. They create jobs, support local events, and bring life to our city streets. We must treat our business owners as true partners. That means listening, collaborating, and finding balanced solutions that protect the public while respecting the realities small business owners face every day. When the city and businesses work together, everyone benefits, and that's the kind of leadership I hope to bring to the city.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gaitan.
My retail background tells me that service is primary, and the citizens of our city are our customers, and they should be treated with this respect at all times, with clear communication, transparent communication at all times. We serve the citizens, not the other way around. Code enforcement and inspectors should be, in fact, people that work with the businesses, with the homeowners, as partners to help them accomplish their goals, not with an attitude of gotcha, which is actually what is happening right now in our city, even though there are people that may be against it. I believe that, in fact, the name should probably be changed from code enforcer to code assistant, because that's what they need to be doing. As a council member, I plan on modeling this service model by walking the store and talking to customers and finding out to citizens, finding out what they need.
Question.
Are we ready?
Ms. Gazak, same question
Yes.
for you.
So I think this question came from a really tough time in the city with COVID. And there were several downtown businesses that put up temporary shelters during COVID. And I think COVID affected all of us. And for quite a while, the city turned a blind eye to these prohibited and unpermitted structures. And so people got used to having these structures. And I think we really dropped the ball in communicating with these businesses about how we were allowing them, supporting them in COVID, wanting to increase their business, as we all in business, my business has really suffered with COVID. But I think that, as other people have said, conversation and meeting with the businesses is so important, so that keeping the communication open is absolutely primary. And that has been a goal of mine and a process of mine throughout my term on council.
Thank you. Ms. J.O.?
Yeah, I think businesses that have code violations, the city should take a fair and a supportive approach. Enforcement should be consistent, but first step, what we need to do is educate the owners and tell them why the rules exist, and then help them comply and give them guidance on compliance, and then give them reasonable timelines. I think we have to work with the business owners, not against them, so that they can stay open while they're trying to be in compliance, because I know for a fact that most people who own businesses don't want to be non-compliant. And as long as we're protecting the public, the health, and the community standards. Of course, unless there's a violation that is imminently dangerous, that needs to be addressed immediately. And otherwise, a balanced approach, protect the community while also supporting our local businesses, which is the backbone of our town.
Thank you. Mr. Webster.
Yeah, so codes are important. They usually develop out of some extreme measure. I work in construction, so there's all sorts of codes for all sorts of things. Education is just a critical component. Oftentimes, code is created because of a worst-case scenario, and oftentimes a code may be violated because someone didn't know any better, or that wasn't their intent, obviously, right, to cause harm. So, education and just direct discussion. I'm guessing this is about Andes and like some of the other stuff during COVID. So, I think that it played out on social media. And here's the thing: just because you say words out loud, it doesn't make them true. So you have to stick to the facts, and the individual parties need to navigate that. We all have a right to our opinion, but in the end, I think it was worked out, and they got a lot more grace than I've seen in most cities. If it's a health code violation, boom, they just shut you down. They don't care. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Mr. Jacobs.
So the key here is that we should want compliance and not punishment. Code enforcement should happen in person and with the attitude of knowing that we are here to serve the community and that we are not the opponents of the businesses. I had a conversation recently with a gentleman who had his own truck parked in front of his driveway, and he got a ticket for blocking his own driveway. So, any rate, the city should be here to help and not to hurt. I'm Gabe Jacobs. I'd love to have your vote.
Mr. Mayoral. Home.
Well, I want our businesses to be successful. And I think that part of what code should do is to work with businesses in a collaborative, friendly manner to find a way to get them to where they want to go. But that also we have to remember that some codes are city, some codes are state and federal, and some is fire code. Those we can't work with. We can only work with the take forward changes to the city code. However, let's work together in good faith collaboration, expecting them to do that. But on safety and fire, yes, you have to do that, because if the city knowingly overlooks a code violation that results in an injury or a building collapse, you pay. You pay. The business doesn't pay. You don't have enough money. They're going to come after the city for that. So they are moving the liability over on to the taxpayers of this city, and we'll end up like Clay Ellen, if you read the newspaper.
Thank you. Now, you've been wanting to do this all night. Go for it. Thank them. Thank you very much. What these folks just did here was very, very difficult, and they did it. We thank these candidates for joining us and for running for office. Please explore additional information about these and all candidates. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League of Women Voters, is a good source of information. Ballots and your Snohomish County voters pamphlet will be mailed starting October 17th. Election day is Tuesday, November 4th, and please be a voter. Thank you to Megan Hetherington of Historic Downtown Snohomish Association for organizing this event. Thanks to Pastor AJ, Pastor Todd, and High Point Church for providing space for the forum. And thank you to our timers. Okay, now this is the end of this forum. I'm going to ask you all to please remain in place for the candidates for the mayoral race, if you can. Take some time to stretch if you need to, but this is a very short break for time constraints, okay? So, thank you all. Thank you, thank you. Come on, y'all, don't make me be a teacher now, come on. Thank you so much. Okay, I had a suggestion from the audience which just sounded absolutely wonderful to me. You all really want to applaud. So what we're going to do is we're going to applaud like crazy right now. And when we finish that, yeah, go ahead. Now that's it. Until we get to the end. You actually have been absolutely wonderful, but it really does slow things down when you stop and you applaud. So if you could hold it for the end, we will have an opportunity to thank these wonderful folks. Are we ready? Yes. Is that all I'm gonna get? Is we ready? Yes. All right. You guys' mics are ready too. Okay, I have to go through this introduction because some of you weren't here and there's some important information I need to share with you. Okay, this is the forum for candidates for Snohomish Mayor. I'm Nadine Shanti and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters for Snohomish County, and I'd like to provide some background on the position. The mayor ensures effective, efficient, and economical administration in accordance with all laws. Responsibilities include supervising executive departments, enforcing all ordinances and state statutes within the city, presenting an annual statement of governmental affairs to the city to the council, preparing proposed budget and budget message, preparing capital improvement plans for present and future development within the city, and nominating members of city boards and commissions. Candidates for mayor do not declare a political party preference. The candidates are Aaron Hoffman and Linda Redmond. Both candidates have agreed to follow the rules for forum participation. Please note that the League of Women Voters does not endorse or oppose candidates or parties. There will be 90 seconds, a minute and a half, allowed for each candidate to answer each question this evening. And we have a lot more questions that we're going to go through since there's just two of you. Our timer will flash how much time is remaining for each question at 30 seconds and at 15 seconds. And when the time reaches 0, I will say thank you. The order of questions chosen randomly, the order for responses to the first question will be Aaron Hoffman, then Linda Redmond. I will then alternate candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. Are you ready? Let's begin. Mr. Hoffman, what are your top priorities for this office? One moment. I want to make sure that you guys did hear me say 90 seconds and still only 30 and 15. Thank you so much. Okay. What are your top priorities for this office? And please explain why you are focusing on these priorities.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. I'm excited. Thank you, Linda. Top priority for me will be fiscal responsibility. I know that's not exciting, it's not sexy. A lot of time it means saying no, but that's part of the job. You know, just because we can afford something doesn't mean that we should afford something. Everyone here you know, lives by budget. Businesses live by budget, and I think government should operate the same way. Second priority will be improving permitting. I think that really channels into a lot of my goals. Supporting businesses is a key one. We're very sales tax dependent for a budget with our city. So the more we can let businesses thrive, the less we have to ask of residents to pay to cover our bills. On top of that, as far as housing goes, the more streamlined our permitting system goes, the easier it is for builders to build, you know, smaller density single-family homes, maybe condos or duplexes, triplexes. But as permitting gets more difficult, it kind of pushes them into higher density projects just to cover the costs. So beyond that, I'm just really excited to be a connector within the community. This campaign has been really exciting for me. I've loved getting to meet all the great people at Snohomish. And yeah, I'm looking to be a servant leader as mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond.
Hey, thank you all for being here tonight. Really glad to see a full room, and this is really great to have this much involvement. So my number one priority would be to continue my good financial stewardship of the city. Unlike other nearby cities, we do not have a deficit, and we have healthy reserves, and I want to preserve that. Our clean audits demonstrate that I've built an experienced, highly competent finance department to protect your city's resources. I also want to continue strategic investments in the city's infrastructure to safeguard the community, save you money, and proactively address long-standing issues. I also want to continue our focus on pedestrian and road safety. It's a constant concern that I've heard from the community, so I have made sure in my time in office so far that we have invested in cost-effective solutions based upon strategic and prioritized plans that balance costs and benefits. You've seen the flashing stop signs by Emerson, multiple pedestrian-activated flashing crosswalks, and the crossing flags downtown. We've also been looking into how to address the sidewalks in need of repair throughout town. Although currently the responsibility for these repairs lies with the adjoining property owner, we are trying to find a path forward that relieves some of this burden while also ensuring safe, accessible pathways for everyone.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you, Ms. Redmond. What qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address these priorities?
So I've been a business owner for 20 years. I'm the controller for our family's corporation, and I was a very active council member for 4 years, council president for 2, and I learned about how a city runs and how it is funded. I've gone the extra mile in getting trained in municipal leadership above and beyond the on-the-job training I've had in elected office, and as mayor, I've demonstrated financial responsibility and also courage to take on the projects that have been avoided in the past because they need doing, and I won't shirk that responsibility for you. Having raised my kids here, I also understand the challenges that families face, so I have pledged to fund projects without raising taxes and to spread costs more equitably across generations. I've spent decades volunteering in this community, working with other parents to support kids and families in our public schools, and I continue to volunteer as a Lion today.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, your qualifications and experience.
Yeah, so I'll start professionally. I'm a CFO of a commercial fishing company. We operate 4 vessels out of Alaska, Dutch Harbor. Our office is right here in town, so my whole life's really Snohomish. But in that role, I've been able to be part of vessel acquisitions, vessel sales, property purchases, large-scale capital improvements on our vessels, stepping into different projects. And something with the commercial fishing industry is, every year is different than the last, so you always have to be ready for the unexpected. You always have to be ready to pivot, and I think that will really come into play as mayor. Beyond that, I work with a lot of state and federal agencies with permitting and licensing, so while I don't have experience as mayor, I do have experience working with government agencies. Beyond that, I am a local small business owner. My wife and I, we own a shop down on First Street, and so we kind of have that perspective of what small businesses in town are facing as far as challenges go. And then we are also raising our 3 kids here. We have Ruby, Goldie, and Axel, and so I have the perspective of raising kids right here using the parks and the sidewalks and all of that, and just enjoying being a resident of Snohomish.
Thank you. Come on, guys. We're trying to get out of here, okay? Thanks. And we're also trying to listen. I got to remember that. Mr. Hoffman, given competing and conflicting priorities, what factors will guide your finance and budgeting?
Yeah, one of the first pieces of advice I got when I started looking into running for mayor was be careful about picking winners and losers. I'm not naive enough to believe that this city will make everybody happy all the time, but we do need to be wary about coming up with solutions that do pick losers. This community is really full of a lot of wisdom, a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of creativity, and my goal is to create a team that can really come up with some win-win solutions. Even to problems that we've faced for a long time that we haven't been able to solve yet. Beyond that, I really want to bring a business mindset to decision making. There's a difference between an expense and an investment. My goal is to make as many of our expenses into investments as possible and then maximize the return on that investment for the taxpayer. I I think a lot of that comes down to just focusing on the core municipal services that the city government was set up to provide. If we can focus on that, we'll find a lot of win-win situations. It's when you step outside of those realms that I think you can start getting the divide of winners and losers.
And Ms. Redmond, your ideas on the factors that will guide your budgets and finance?
So I've always balanced costs versus benefits and will continue to do so. When making budget decisions, first and foremost, I prioritize the safety of the community. So police services, the ability to respond to emergencies, and the health of our people are at the top of the list. This means law enforcement, utilities, and emergency response, including the response preparedness of public works, are the top priorities. I've ensured that we have a fully funded and fully staffed police force, fulfilling the community's requests, including a community services officer who provides needs-focused policing. During my administration, we've assessed the city's ability to respond effectively to emergencies and have just completed a full update of our comprehensive emergency management plan and have invested in communication and response capabilities to protect the community in the most likely emergency scenarios. For environmental health issues, we've assessed the city's water and sewer infrastructure and have invested in the highest need areas to ensure our community remains healthy and safe.
Thank you. And Ms. Redmond, we'll start with you here. What changes, if any, would you like to see concerning how the city is run?
This is probably going to surprise people, but I would like to remove as many regulations and hurdles as we can, to remove unnecessary burdens, to make sure people are getting prompt solutions to their issues, and that as a city, we can be more nimble in addressing evolving issues. I look forward to the council approving the Planning Commission's work on removing hurdles for neighborhood businesses and food trucks, and as this has stifled economic development potential in the past. Really, I agree with much of what was said before, that we want to remove the burdens upon the people of the city and make sure that they can thrive in the way they see fit.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, your ideas on this issue?
Yeah, during this campaign, I've knocked on about 2,500 doors personally, which I think maybe I'd be in the lead there. But it's been great, and a lot of the comments I hear, two of the most common ones are "Oh man, I didn't even know that was going on," or "I just don't think they care. They don't listen." So I know that's not true. I'm not accusing anyone of that, but there's still that feeling out there. So if we can improve some of the connection between the public and the city, I'd really like to see that. And then connection within city staff. I've met with some city staff. I've heard, their side of things. And obviously there's always two sides to a story. But I'm a real big fan of servant leadership. You lead to serve the people under you, and then that enables them to lead from the bottom back up. And a lot of times that brings different opinions up and different, diverse perspective. In my work, we see that a lot between like the office and the boat. The boat says, "Hey, we need this," and at the office we're like, "That does not make sense financially." Or in the office we're like, "Hey, this makes sense financially. You guys got to do this." And the boat's like, "Yeah, operationally that doesn't even make sense." So you have to have that internal connection between the teamwork, and I'm looking forward to developing that.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what will you do to support a vibrant economy in your city? And please include in your answer how you would support small businesses in Snohomish.
Yeah, I'll start. Yesterday, my wife and I actually took our kids out on a little drive to Whidbey Island and stopped at a couple small towns. And there is a distinct difference between Snohomish and most other little towns. It is alive here and thriving, and people are entrepreneurial and just excited to be in this town, and I love that. As a small business owner, I know, especially in the historic district, one of the main complaints we hear is about parking. In my mind, Snohomish is kind of like a little island, and people need cars to get here, and when they get here, they need nice streets and parking places to park and spend their money. So I'll definitely be against anything that's reducing parking, such as the parallel parking that got brought up in some plans as a proposal. And hopefully we can make some plans that actually improve parking, improve sidewalks, lighting, signage, all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited for. Beyond that, I think permitting's just key for businesses. You know, the city needs to move quickly with permitting so that businesses can move quickly with growth and just be able to thrive. You know, the more people we bring into town to spend their money, that's more sales tax revenue for us, and I'd rather take their money than yours.
Mr. Edmond, your thoughts on this question?
Sure. So I would support a vibrant economy in our city by continuing to improve the permitting process. I keep hearing complaints about how we are so slow, but 100% whenever I personally investigate a complaint, it is the contractor or other professional hired who is holding it up. We've done a lot to improve our process, and the team has been working very hard. An example of this is our paperless permitting and improvements we've made to remove bottlenecks in the process. An independent study just came out showing that we have the fastest permitting in the neighboring area. We will continue to provide data for businesses to target their promotions, enhance promotion reach through sporting events, create welcome packs for new businesses, install new signage highlighting attractions, increase parking for First Street. We currently have a tentative plan for over almost 4 dozen new spots, and continue to work on zoning changes to support small businesses. And I will continue to collaborate with the Chamber, the Historic Downtown Snohomish Association, and other organizations like the Snohomish County Sports Commission to keep offering exciting options that draw residents and visitors to come out and play in Snohomish.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, what measures, if any, would you propose or support to keep housing options affordable in Snohomish?
Sure, this goes back to decreasing regulations as much as possible and supporting zoning that makes building more affordable and allows compatible density. We need to work closely with willing developers to understand how to decrease the delays and costs that they have to deal with. I do hope that master builders, if anybody's from them here tonight, will work with us and take us up on our good faith offer to work with them on sample cases for how our zoning and ordinances impact builders. And we can work with the County Housing Authority to better understand what our options are as a community to ensure that people who work in the city can afford to live in the city, and ensuring housing choice vouchers are funded and that our local landlords take advantage of the guaranteed income this program provides. That's probably the most meaningful thing to address housing affordability. And we need to be a strong partner with the Housing Authority for this. We will continue to support the efforts of the Snohomish Affordable Housing Group and other nonprofits like Housing Hope, which has been mentioned many times tonight. And we recently passed significant amendments allowing for more flexibility for ADUs.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, your ideas on affordable housing options?
Yeah. As far as affordable housing goes, one thing I like to think about is like it does not just come down to zoning. Affordability depends on how much it actually costs to live in a town. So it goes outside of just zoning and permitting, but it goes into property taxes, your utility rates, all those kind of things. And those are things that the city can help control. So I will be focusing on that as an aspect of affordable housing. Beyond that, as far as permitting goes, that is important. I think I said it before, but having a slow permitting process, which I've talked to enough people to believe we do have an issue and we can improve it. That pushes them into higher density projects because the delays, like one guy I met, he was delayed by 8 years, and yeah, that's not all the city's fault, of course. There's outside people involved there too. But the longer that drags on, the longer they're paying loans on that property before they can sell, and that cost gets passed on to the buyer. So as a dad of 3 kids, I'd love to see Snohomish stay it's hardly affordable now, but somewhat affordable in the future. And we have a lot of growth going in the North Lake annexation. It's up to us to control. I'd love to see more home ownership opportunities come up. We already have below state average home ownership, above state average rental. So I'd really like to see some home ownership opportunities come to the town.
And continuing with you, Mr. Hoffman, besides affordable housing options, as mayor, what measures would you propose to address homelessness in Snohomish?
Yeah, if we're going to talk about homelessness, I think we also have to discuss drug abuse. They often go hand in hand. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality we face. Part of my church, they have a recovery house, and I'm able to work with those guys over the last decade or so. And they're usually recovering addicts, great guys. They have amazing skill sets. They just need help getting back on their feet. But we were driving through Snohomish once, and it was kind of back when safe injection sites were in the news a lot. And I said, hey, what's your opinion on like a safe injection site here in Snohomish? And they said, oh, Aaron, small towns, that's where addicts go to die. That small towns don't have the services that we need to get back on our feet. We need public transport, we need housing, we need, if we get back on our feet, we need job opportunities. And larger cities provide all those things much better than a town like Snohomish ever can. So it's not about saying, hey, get out of here, you're not our problem. It's about saying, hey, how can we serve you and actually help you get back on your feet? And a lot of the times what that looks like is having strict enforcement of laws and then getting them to a place where they can actually get back on their feet.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, your ideas on how to address homelessness in Snohomish?
Yeah, so this question is supposing that affordable housing options are the only answer to address homelessness, but it's not just an issue of affordability. As Aaron mentioned, there's other issues usually. So most quote-unquote affordable housing is built through the low-income housing tax credit program, and it's financed by investors, and it's closer to market rate because these investors need to make a profit, right? So it's not the kind of housing that is actually suitable for the chronically unhoused, which is what most people are talking about when they ask a question like this. The chronically homeless typically have other issues that they're dealing with, and they need more intensive services. The housing that can support this population requires more assistance from the public sector. That's just how it happens. And we do have some funding in the city that is restricted to supporting these types of needs, but we are not building that type of housing here. But we have worked at the city to ensure that those in our community who need access to services are guided to those services through the work of a position that I put in place in my administration, which is a community navigator who helps our residents when they have issues, and our community services officer, which is a fairly unique position within our police department, who's able to have more hands-on care for members of our community. Thank you.
I would like to remind you both to please remember to bring the microphone forward sometimes. Thank you.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Redmond, should the city take action to preserve our current tree canopy and to ensure that new trees are planted for future generations? Please explain.
So I'm happy to report, and you heard this before from the other council members, that we are now doing this. I've been supporting this effort for years, and thanks to the work of many people, including the Parks and Forestry Board, Green Snohomish, and many other interested individuals, and our hardworking staff at the city, we now have a tree inventory, a tree ordinance, and just celebrated our first annual Arbor Day, fulfilling the requirements to become a tree city. So I think we are doing this very well now.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, same question.
Yeah, living here in Snohomish, obviously trees are a big part of just what makes it so beautiful to live here. I think about a block from our house is probably one of the biggest trees in the whole city, and it's awesome to look at. I'm just in awe of how huge it is. But, as far as regulation goes, common sense is kind of the key there. I've talked to some developers, and the city has made some improvements as far as flexibility. Big fan of tree banking, so you have to take down some trees to build on a piece of property, and instead of having to replace it on that piece of property, if it's restrictive, you could bank it and put it on a different piece of property, maybe a park or a different piece of public property. I'm very weary of taking rights away from homeowners. We have a lot of old trees in town, and I don't really think that owners should have to get a permit just to go trim some branches off. I think that's just overly restrictive, and at some point you have to draw the line and just trust the public to make wise decisions on their own. Lastly, there's some projects where I think some of these, the idea of getting more trees in town actually works hand in hand with totally unrelated projects. I think even speeding on 2nd Street could be solved by adding some trees to really make that road feel a little smaller than it currently feels, and it would be a real win-win.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what is a strategy which could be used to enhance collaboration in your work as the mayor? And give us an example of how you have used this strategy.
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but a lot of people I've talked to, they're like, man, I had no idea that was going on. And the city does host some great events. Obviously even council meetings are a great way for people to come and get informed. And people should do that, and they should come to the open houses. But they can't always do that. And so we can either, say, as the city, point fingers at the public and say, well, it's your fault for not getting involved. Or then the public can point the finger back at the city and say, well, it's your fault for not telling me. Or we can actually try to fix it. And so one thing I'd really like to do is use social media as a tool out of City Hall. I think just doing weekly casual updates from the mayor's position would be a great way of just informing people, hey, these are the things we're talking about at City Council. Hey, these are even some of the events going on in the city. It would help, it would just benefit everybody. And then if people hear of something and they go, oh, that's interesting, then the city website's there to really provide more details for them to dig into that issue.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, same question for you.
Thank you. So what I've found most helpful is to throw out the artificial boundaries of jurisdictions and look at how each person experiences being a part of this community. This means that different agencies and groups can work together to provide a seamless experience. For instance, we've tried to work more closely with the Chamber, HDSA, Klahia Days, and the Farmers Market to ensure that events are fun, safe, and well promoted. This is also why the city has worked with the fire district on planning for the public safety and city services campus. Rather than having two separate agencies create separate chambers, meeting rooms, and public use areas, we realized that we could save the community on those costs by planning for those needs together. We are also saving the community on costs of infrastructure upgrades through working together. Collaboration in all these instances make the cost and experience better for our community members. I've also developed strong relationships with our county, state, and federal elected officials and local tribal governments and capitalized on these connections to better support Snohomish. For instance, we received $3 million in federal funding for our sewer trunk line from strong relationships with Congresswoman Del Bene, and our state legislative delegation has been working to support our initiatives with funding and legislative efforts due to that strong collaborative relationship. Thank you.
Ms. Redmond, we'll start with you on this next question. Should the mayor involve residents in decisions regarding budgets, new taxes, or service cuts? If not, please explain. If yes, how should they be involved?
So the answer is yes, and I've focused on transparency and how financial decisions are made for the city. All of these decisions are made in open meetings. I've pushed for online budget portal that will soon offer quarterly updates on big projects so you can track their progress. Any changes to property taxes, which are currently 2.74% of the city's revenues, would be made by council, and my role is solely to provide a suggested budget and reports from our financial team to help council determine whether changes to taxes should happen. This happens annually, and we always listen to public input. I've always been interested in the idea of participatory budgeting, and I would want to see the city conduct sessions to hear from the community should there be a drastic change in the financial outlook that meant we needed to cut services. And in case this question is being asked due to concerns about the city campus, I want to emphasize that we are committed to not raising taxes in order to build the new campus, and we will not move forward with the project if it is not a financially sound decision.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, your ideas on this issue?
Yeah, as far as resident involvement, I think it kind of depends on the definition of involvement. If you're asking me if I think residents should vote on every decision that's made at City Hall, that would definitely be a no. You know, we're voted in to be representatives, and there's a streamlining of processes that goes along with that. If the term involvement means should they be informed, then that would definitely be a yes. That kind of goes back to my previous response, talking about using social media as a tool to let people be a little more involved in the process and maybe not be blindsided by certain projects. You know, like I said, I've knocked on about 2,500 doors, and I personally think if there was more community outreach and involvement on a project like the new civic campus on Pine, I don't think that project would have made it as far as it has.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, we'll start with you on this question. As Snohomish works to comply with Growth Management Act requirements, what are your ideas for addressing infrastructure, including downtown parking and adequate and repaired roads and sidewalks?
Yeah, as far as growth, you know, the growth models predicting that the city, we currently have just over 10,000 residents. By 2044, that might be 12,500 residents. There's a lot of room in the North Lake annexation to make some of that happen. And growth is kind of scary because we all love Snohomish and a lot of aspects of it. So it's up to us to mold how that growth affects the town and try to keep some of the character that we already have. So a big part of that for me is I'd love to see business growth match the residential growth. That provides jobs here. It provides you know, family wage jobs where people can actually afford to live here and buy a house here. It also keeps some of the kind of that mixed Middletown vibe that we have in Snohomish. You know, I think everyone likes being able to walk to a restaurant or a coffee shop, at least those that live close enough to do so. So if we can kind of create those little pockets throughout the town of businesses next to residential, I think that would really keep some of the atmosphere that we currently have. And then as far as, you know, fiscal responsibility, growth does provide the city some important funds to be able to take care of big projects, including like the First Street infrastructure repairs or other sewer repairs.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, same question.
So in planning with the Growth Management Act, we look at a thing called concurrency, which is when your infrastructure matches the need that arises when growth happens. So concurrency of growth and infrastructure is a central tenet of our recently updated comprehensive plan. We built the new Northeast Sewer trunk line and have invested strategically in utilities and roads to address anticipated needs that we determine through looking at the Growth Management Act and the comprehensive plan that the city would need. We've been working to upgrade vintage infrastructure and sidewalks downtown, making plans to add, again, dozens more parking spaces. And as mentioned before, we are working on plans to ease the sidewalk maintenance burdens of property owners, and we are trying to find trade-offs with developers to get more sidewalks built more quickly. We also have a new focus on multimodal transportation and have activated plans to connect more accessible and safe pathways all throughout town.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, we'd like to start with you on this question. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, has conducted several workplace raids and enforcement actions in Washington state. Please explain your thoughts about the effects of these events on the community at large.
These events create fear and uncertainty for those targeted and their employers. And they have a negative impact on the communities and businesses. To be clear, contrary to rumors, I have not declared Snohomish a sanctuary city, and I maintain my commitment to comply with state and federal laws. But we cannot forget that there is a human cost to these actions, and I want all of our community members to feel safe and welcome in our beautiful town.
Mr. Hoffman?
I grew up in Southern California, so my second and third grade class had more Spanish-speaking students than English-speaking students, and while there was a barrier of communication there, all I remember is they were really nice kids, and we played games together. And I don't know all their family history, but I would assume some of them were here illegally. My mom worked at the hospital, so she knew that there was a high percentage of illegal immigrants from Mexico in the area. And so I know a lot of these people are just great people. They're parts of our community. So regarding ICE, I'm not running with the idea of like, hey, let's deport some people at all. But also I'm not going to pretend we can get in a pissing match with the federal government if they did come to Snohomish. So under my direction, we would do no more and no less than legally required regarding deportations or assisting ICE.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what would be your approach with businesses in Snohomish when code violation conflicts arise?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying, the city does have a requirement to enforce codes. I think it was Mr. Mayoral that mentioned that, we have liability that we're exposed to if we don't enforce certain codes. And so, that's part of sometimes you have to be the bad guy. The fact that everyone thinks this question is about Andes, I think kind of proves that they might not know that other people are up against issues as well, because it's not just Andes that had an issue with permits. It goes well beyond that. I'm part of the business community. I hear that. And so overall, enforcement's necessary, but I think there's ways to improve communication and, okay, we're here. How do we move forward? And we need to be a teammate in that. I'll just tell a story. When we opened our shop back in 2019, kind of came out of nowhere. And so we're 2 days from opening, I think, and we didn't have the sign up. And Wendy, who worked for the city at the time, she walked by, she goes, hey, you getting the sign up? We said, oh, no, we don't have the permit. She goes, let me see the paperwork. She walks City Hall. She comes back 20 minutes later, signed application. We put our sign up. Well, actually, Ryan Gagnon put our sign up, so thank you if you're here. That's small town, and I'd love to be able to harbor that type of attitude for other businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, same question.
Yeah, I too felt that this was probably related to Andes when it was brought up. I just want to assure everybody that we have tried to be as lenient as possible with businesses, but given the liability that taxpayers take on when code violations occur and the city becomes aware, we really have to at some point go through with enforcement. I do think that the word conflict is not necessarily correct. It just is what we have to do. We have a responsibility. I do think that we can revisit our code, and we have already begun to do so, to ensure that there are not unnecessarily strict requirements that impact our businesses. However, in the instances where everyone has heard about, the city cannot in good conscience put the safety of customers and staff at risk. nor the safety of the cities and the communities, your finances, just because a business owner is unwilling to follow the International Building Code and fire safety regulations. So we do have a responsibility to do that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Redmond, please give us your perspective on the proposed city campus plan. And again, please compare the cost of the plan and the benefits to the community.
So I'll put this out to everyone in the room. We all understand that property owners must maintain their properties, right? You can nod. It's okay. Yeah. All right. Well, the city was told decades ago that our facilities are inadequate to serve our community. We've known this. Professional estimators recently told us that to maintain and upgrade our facilities as needed just over the next 20 years would cost a little under $43 million, not accounting for inflation over that time frame. Professional estimators also told us that moving those same facilities onto one site would cost $45 million to construct. This would be paid for over 30 to 40 years through municipal bonds, not by raising taxes, but through expected revenue predicted with a very conservative formula, including funds for operating our utilities. This would spread the cost out more equitably, make communication and collaboration among departments more efficient, make a one-stop shop for residents, and save money on operational energy costs, and allow us to electrify the city fleet. Instead of throwing good money after bad, we could actually build something that would better serve our community for generations to come. How many of you have a mortgage? Raise your hand. Okay, this is like taking out a mortgage, and this is how municipal projects get built.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, same question.
Yeah, I think anyone that's followed my campaign knows I'm not a fan of this project. We'll start off with that cost comparison, $43 million. That $43 million included a $26 million plan to move Public Works to the pit, which was a terrible project, and that's why the city didn't go through with it. So, you can add non-existent projects into a comparison to make it look close, but that's not really reality. Beyond that, say it was $43 million to maintain what we have. Well, the project isn't $45 million, it's $60 million. And beyond that, we all pay interest on our mortgage, and we all factor that into the affordability of the project. It's not free money, it's not a grant, it's a loan, and you have to pay it back with interest. I don't really expect people to just take my word for this. I'd love if people would go and look at other projects in neighboring cities. Marysville did a $65 million civic campus. They have 75,000 people to cover that cost. We have 10,000 people. That's a big difference, and there's really nothing around here that has that cost per capita as far as a civic campus. So I know there's better opportunities. The Bonneville property I'd really like to look at. If the city can save tens of millions, we deserve to look into it fully.
Thank you. Okay. Excuse me. Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what, if anything, would you do to address further increases in the water bills of Snohomish residents?
Last weekend I was out door knocking. Well, it was Saturday. I was door knocking. I met a woman, and we were talking about utility bills going up. And as I was talking about, last year average bill was $280. By 2029, it'll be $430. And as I told her, she actually started weeping. She's a single mom. Her kids are about to leave. They'd been helping her pay rent, but they're stepping out. And so she's just crying, saying, "I literally don't know if I can even keep my house." And that's not. Sometimes there's necessary expenses, and we can't solve everything for everybody, but it really brought home the weight of fiscal responsibility. These decisions, I'm fortunate enough, I can afford extra $100 a month. I don't want to pay an extra $100 a month, but I can. Some people can't. And so these decisions really matter. And that's where, with the Civic Campus, say we had to have these utility rates go up to the $430 a month, or bi-monthly. Should we also be adding on potential tax burdens of this $60 million civic campus at the same time when people are still recovering from, a more macro-scaled inflation that has been very damaging to people. In my mind, that'd be no. So I'd like to look into ways that we can reduce the burden or maybe reduce the potential increase of water, and we'll see.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, same question.
So I'll say if anybody is dealing with that issue with the water where it's impacting their ability to pay for their mortgage or their rent, that contact our community navigator, because we haven't increased the ability to access assistance on those types of bills. It is a responsibility as a city to make sure our utility rates reflect the true cost of operating and maintaining our community's infrastructure, your property. And periodic assessments are done to make sure that this is so. With that said, there are no plans to further increase the water bills above what is currently approved, and an independent rate advisor recently provided us with suggested rates based upon an assessment of the work needed on the water system. We did not raise rates as much as they suggested, not wanting to have such a drastic increase. The previous administration did lower rates, even though the same maintenance and upgrades were required that we are facing now, thereby passing the buck to my administration. So these are your facilities, and they must be maintained to prevent more costly failures and emergencies. And any of you who maintain vehicles or property know this to be true.
Thank you. We've got 2 more questions we're going to do tonight, and like many of the questions we've asked this evening, they did come from the community in preparation for this event. And these 2, I think we want to hear what you think about them. So we're starting with you, Ms. Redmond. What role, if any, do you see city leadership playing in balancing diverse community events and traditions so that all residents feel welcome in Snohomish?
So as stated earlier, I want all members of our community to feel welcome and safe. And I think it is the role of an elected leader to represent all the segments of our community, which continues to evolve. It is important for all people to feel they have a place in our communal celebrations, and I have been pleased to see new traditions such as Pride, Holy, and Dia de Muertos arise to complement the long-standing ones like the Easter Parade, the tree lighting, and Klahaya Days.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, I'm going to start. I've heard people talk about Snohomish, and they say, well, it's historically racist, historically homophobic. I'm not going to play pretend that that's what Snohomish is. I don't think we're racist. My best friend is a businessman here in town. He's black. We hang out all the time. Our kids hang out all the time. He's in a mixed race marriage. I don't think he's ever faced anything as far as racism here in town. And it's not saying that racism or homophobia, transphobia, any of that does not exist at all. I'm just not going to pretend that Snohomish overall harbors those feelings at the core of the community. I think it's insulting, actually, to the community to believe that. Beyond that, though, I do think people should have the right of free speech, the right of assembly. They should be able to do what they want to do, and I think that's great. Do I think the city should be getting involved in some of those issues? Probably not. I'd rather set a standard than play politics. I think a lot of people are worried about me coming in and pushing some agenda on them. Well, I'm not going to. I think those people are usually the ones that are happy to do it themselves, and then they project it onto me. I love Snohomish. I have family.
Thank you. Ms., let me see, did I do this? Ms. Redmond, did you answer that already? Yes, you did. Okay, thank you. Last question. Mr. Hoffman, how would you define public safety, and what issues fall under this umbrella?
Yeah, public safety for me means, moms and kids can walk to the library and feel safe. It means they don't have to cross the street when a drug addict's walking up the other side of the street. I think that's really, really important. And a lot of these small things don't always seem like they matter, but they do add up, and they'll definitely matter when it happens to you. I never thought car crime is a big issue in Snohomish, and it's really not. But then our car got stolen, and so then you're like, oh man, that really matters. So I don't want some of these public safety issues to become issues where people are like, oh man, we should have taken care of that. We should have cared. Now it happened to us. Let's just take care of it. Let's make sure Snohomish stays a safe community. And a lot of that just comes down to enforcing basic laws. Misdemeanors matter. I've heard that saying, and it's true. I'm a fan of the broken window theory. It just kind of says, a broken window leads to graffiti. Graffiti leads to this and that, and it goes on, leads all the way to murder, rape, all of it. And this is actually proven stuff. It's out of New York when they were dealing with a crime issue, I think, in the 80s. So little things matter. I want to tackle the little things so that we don't have to deal with the big things later on.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond, same question, please.
So public safety is more than just law enforcement. We should also include emergency preparedness and response, fire and building safety, life and health safety, and road and pedestrian safety. All of these issues require sustained attention and collaboration. I've developed a great relationship with Sheriff Johnson, the Sheriff's Office, and our police chief and police department. Senator Lovick has kept me informed about efforts to increase the numbers of recruits going through the training commission to ensure our police force is fully staffed. I've kept an eye on how many cases are going through prosecution and have a strong relationship with our county prosecutor. For emergency preparedness, we've developed strong collaboration with first responders and the Department of Emergency Management, and I chair the Department of Emergency Management Advisory Board to ensure that the needs of Snohomish are taken care of in the event of an emergency. For life and health safety, utilities that provide clean water and remove waste to keep our environment safe are essential and cannot fail. So I've invested in essential maintenance and upgrades. I've also emphasized the need to remain able to provide these services in the event of an emergency, such as an earthquake, which is the main reason to move our public works facilities from their current site. Thank you.
And thank you. Are you ready? Thank you all so much. Okay, we thank these candidates for joining us and for running for office. Explore additional information about these candidates and others at 411.org. Your ballots and your Snohomish County voter pamphlets will be mailed starting October 17th, and Election Day is November 4th. They're leaving me. Please be a voter. Thank you to Megan Hetherington and to Pastor AJ and High Point Church for providing space for the forum. And I would really like to thank all of you for being here tonight and participating in our election process. You hung out for the evening. You were wonderful. Thank you.